Going on? What's going on? What's going on, good people? Y'all hear me out there? Do y'all hear me out there? Apologize for being a little late, little tardy. Apologize for being a little late, little tardy. Better than being here than not being here at all. Do y'all hear me out there? Do y'all hear me out there? Testing, 1 2, testing, 1 2. Do y'all good people hear me out there? Um, well, this is gonna be our last show for the month of February. Gosh, 2020. Gosh, 2022 is going by real fast, real fast. Um, I want to, do y'all hear me out there? Do you hear me out there? Mr. Producer, do you hear me in the back? What's up, Mr. Producer? Loud and clear. That's what I want to hear. I appreciate shots out. Anna Davis, I appreciate it. It is what it is show. This is our we have been consistent making sure we have been live throughout this year as far as 2022 is concerned. It is a good year thus far. It's getting ready to get into campaign season. Campaign season is around the corner. And so we'll be talking about campaigns on all next month. And what we plan on doing next month is we're going to start bringing guest features on the show. Guest features will start being on the show. There's a lot of people who've been texting me, telling me behind the scenes what they like, what they dislike, what I need to be talking about, what I need to be building on, and what I need to make better. And so I appreciate those people who have taken the time to be out here, share. Appreciate Anna Davis, share. Let's make sure we like, we share, we do everything we can to make sure that this conversation is heard across the world, across the building. I will be bringing in some key people who want to talk about the subjects at hand when it deals with African Americans in this community. Better later than never, Jay. You're absolutely right. Miss Betty Jones, one of my faithful fans. I appreciate Miss Betty, or Dr. Reverend Betty. I appreciate y'all for being here. To have these dialogues, these conversations, these discussions. I know it's been repetitive the last 8-9 weeks, but there's a reason why I want to have these conversations. You know what? And today I'm going to share that reason why I want to have these conversations. So without further ado, he is coming to you live from 110 Ventura Place. He lives the room opposite of the executive suite and what we call the presidential suite. And I'm gonna let my main man, Money Grant. He always want to be nosy. He always want to find out what I'm talking about, what I'm going through, and everything like that. So I'm gonna let my main man, Money Grant, my executive producer, starting next with Johannes McKinley Jones to come to the stage. I'm gonna let him come to the stage. He couldn't wait to do this, y'all. So let's give him a round of applause. See there? That's my executive producer. Y'all think that Julius is my executive. This is my executive producer. I do this for him, y'all. I do this for this one right here, y'all. And so today, shared conversation. Today we're going to have a shared conversation with me and my child. If he sticks his tongue out one more time, this will be the shortest conversation we have on this platform. So without further ado, this is Mr. Johannes Jones. How you doing, Mr. Jones?
Good.
All right. And so what do you want to talk about, man? What are the things that you like to hear grown folk talk about that actually involve you as a person who is the future generation of this world? And I know everybody, this is not planned. I do everything spontaneous because I want my child to be on his P's and Q's. And there you go. You got your shot at. You got your say, hey, Miss Jones.
Hey, Miss Jones.
All right, now he want to act like a baby. He been acting like a big boy all day. Now he want to act like a baby. So Johannes, I asked you a question. What are some things that you think we should be talking about? Go ahead and prop up and sit on that. There you go.
What we should be talking about is Black African Americans because it is February, Black History Month.
And it's Black History Month. So what have me and you been doing the last 20 so days when you go to school? What kind of things have you been doing?
I've been reading Young Trailblazer book. It's about the alphabet, all Black African Americans from A to Z.
And A to Z. And y'all see that, man. We've been talking about African American, pioneer African Americans who have been engineers, who have been doctors, who've been lawyers, who've been surgeons, neurosurgeons, all kind of people like Lewis Lattimore. You know about Lewis Lattimore? Remember Lewis Lattimore?
Yes, sir.
You remember who?
Uh, Benjamin Banneker.
Benjamin Banneker. What's Benjamin Banneker known for?
For astronomer.
Okay, and he was astronomer. So y'all understand that if we're not willing to take care of the next generation, what if we forget who comes after us? What if we don't take care of the next generation? We will lose contact. We will lose constraint between what we need to do and what we have. And yes, sir, this is great. Being able to talk to an audience is a tool that should be treasured. And you're absolutely right. And I'm going to break him out of that silence. I'm going to make him a fabulous orator, even if he likes to keep sticking his tongue out of his mouth, which he know that bothers me to death. But we're still going to talk about. So Johannes, give me some other stuff that you want to talk about. You want to talk about the presidents?
Yeah.
Okay, talk about the presidents of the United States of America, because that's one thing you know. Who's the 15th president of the United States of America?
Abraham Lincoln.
Who's the 13th president of the United States of America?
Miller Fillmore.
Who's the 41st president of the United States of America?
George H.W. Bush.
And who is my favorite president of the United States of America?
Barack Obama.
And what number is Barack Obama?
44.
You better believe the 44th president is daddy's favorite president. The 45th president, he had a 46th president, and I'm going to leave it at that. It is so important that we make sure we cherish these moments and we teach our young people, the people who come after us, the seeds that come from us, and the greatness that comes before us, that we make sure that we do what we can to treasure these young people. And I'm not going to be here past 9 o'clock because you know what? I want to make sure it was 12 minutes I missed, and we're going to make sure we close the show out. But the conversation that we have is the what if conversation. What if we stopped? And guess what, y'all? The problem about this thing is the harsh reality is the what if scenario I'm about to get out there is a true what if scenario in our community. What if we stop building bridges for the next generation, y'all? What if we stop the hands and making sure that the next generation who comes after us don't have? What if we stop making it a way for the next generation to be able to succeed? What if the what if scenarios are so prevalent and so powerful that it is beyond repair, that we need to make sure that we cherish the what ifs that come after us, y'all? And if we're not willing builders, if we're not willing to be narrators of story to create wealth for the next generation, we're not going to allow Black people to be able to be an equal part in this community. And it's so important for me to have this conversation in front of my child. It's so important for me to have to be able to build economics for my child. It's so important to be able to teach my child wealth and how if you don't buy into wealth, you're a part of the system that will keep you away from being able to get into the wealth culture. And it's so important for me to make sure that this young man right here gets the wealth culture. And so I am here talking the what if scenarios. I am here to make sure that this young man right here is prosperous, because you know what? This is the most important thing in my life. You know why he's the most important thing in my life? Because he came from me, and he must be better than me in order for this world to be successful. But I cannot stop just with him alone, because if I just stop with him alone, then guess what age of society where he becomes a mature adult, a functioning adult, a voting adult, an adult who makes economics in this system. When he becomes a mature person, I have to make sure that he has a group of people in society he can communicate with. I'm going to say that slowly. Communicate with. It is so important that I just don't take care of him, but I got to take care of a circle of people around him so he can have people, not as he crosses that bridge, but people can help him cross over that bridge. It's so important. It's so prevalent in this society. And so I ask you, I beg you, I implore you to take the time to make sure we invest in these little noggins right here, because these little noggins right here become the bigger noggins that will run this world. And one thing I don't want to be put in a nursing home and people forget about me and say, hey, you know, Jay Jones was put in a nursing home by that child, Johannes Jones, because I know Johannes will put me in a nursing home in a minute. Ain't that right, Johannes?
Mm-mm.
You ain't going to put me in a nursing home?
Mm-mm.
You and your mama will go off in the sun and say, y'all for Johannes.
Mm-mm.
All right, so y'all see that. He ain't going to put me in a nursing home. You know why he's not going to put me in a nursing home? Because I'm going to make sure that I put him in the best possible position that he thrives in this world. And that's what we should be doing for our kids. So when I say that, what if we really tried it. What if we really, they got you called Barry Bonds, baby Barry Bonds, ready to break those records. Go ahead and go in and show that swing for Uncle B. Woo! You see that, Uncle B? He already ready for the pros. And what if is you comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay, so what if we really took the time to make sure we create narratives for the culture of our children? You know what? We do a great job of creating the narrative of consumer, being a consumer being. What that means is we do a great job of a narrative of teaching our young black African American kids the importance of being a consumer. We do not value money being able to spend more than 25 minutes in our pocket. Matter of fact, a lot of us have already spent that money before we even earned that money. What that means is before we can get a chance to get a paycheck, before we do anything, we've allowed cash check systems to go out there and deprive us from being able to get the full monetary value of what we earn on a week-to-week basis. What that means is we borrow against ourselves sometimes. So what that means is we don't allow ourselves to be able to understand equity. We don't allow ourselves to understand how it is to be a fervent part in this political or economic system. And it's so important. Isn't that?
Yes.
Yes, it's very important. And y'all know what? It's so important for me to let you understand that before it's all said and done, and before August even comes, this young man gonna have the interview better than his loudmouth daddy. You know why? Because it's so important for him to have good oratorical skills, y'all. Because if you're able to communicate in any kind of, it is so important for you to be able to barter and trade with your own verbiage and your own mouth. But see, you know what? Someone made something real clear to me. And Johannes, I'm trying to teach him this right here. It's not just being able to read good, but to read with comprehension. Y'all understand what that means? To comprehend means you understand what you are reading. When it goes through your lips, it goes into your mind, and you can process it. You can process it to understand what the dialect is all about. And that dialect is to make sure you translate it in your mind what benefits good and what benefits bad against you. And we understand we want to make sure we take the good that we process in our mind frame and make sure that that comprehension works to our favor. And a lot of times, because we have not learned how to read with comprehension. Did you hear that? This is a teaching moment for you. When you do not read for comprehension, then you lose on that point. You lose on that opportunity. And so while he's looking at this, taking the time to make sure that he reads through all these comments. So y'all people, please don't make an enemy of me and make it where we have a comment where he don't understand and he can't comprehend, because Johannes knows how to comprehend very well. And it's so important that we teach our young people. It's so important to love on our young people. See, a lot of times when I was a county commissioner, a lot of people used to get mad at me, and they would say, well, why he always bring his child to everything? Some of these events ain't for a child. You know why I used to do that? I used to bring Johannes with me to a lot of events because you know why? I wanted people to comprehend and understand that it's not about me. Somebody who is under the age of 10 years old in my household, who I am more responsive and responsible for than any of them out there in this earth. And my thing is, I am his protector. I am his guardian. I am his warrior. I am his example. I am what he chooses and wants to be like. And so I have to make sure that I don't lie, I don't cheat, I don't steal, and I don't do anything outside of the realm of what would comprehend what he needs to see in me. And it's so important that we take these kind of life skills. It is so important we have these teaching moments and these ensure that the next generation that comes after us sees and wants to be the greater gifts that we can do for this world. Ain't that right, Johannes?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so do you have anything you want to say? Because you can do a lot of talking when you're in the car. See, now you got your audience. Do all the talking you want. You got 5 minutes. Because my thing is, based on the conversation you hear, will show me how soon you'll be having a conversation on this platform. So let's go. Hold that stomach in. He's supposed to be doing some reenactment soon. So go ahead and talk, John. It's your turn to talk. Go ahead and talk.
So what I want to talk about is 5 minutes of Black History moments.
So talk to me. 5 minutes of Black History moments. Let's go. Come on.
So,
Come on. They're gonna sit back so you can sit up. There you go.
So, fact number 1. Frank, when me and Daddy were listening to the radio on our way to the office, we heard that Frederick Douglass had a relationship with Abraham Lincoln.
And what kind of relationship was with Abraham Lincoln?
Friends.
They were friends. Now, were they always friends?
No.
They were not always friends. And so, what was the document, or what was the thing that actually created between the two of them?
The
You got it.
Emancipation
Proclamation. So Emancipation Proclamation is what brought the two gentlemen together. Now, prior to the Emancipation Proclamation, y'all, I know my child so well because he didn't think I know he was back there listening. Was so quiet when this conversation was on the radio station. So they weren't always friends, right?
Yeah.
And what party? And I know I'm gonna get hit on the head for this one, but what party was the party that was known for freeing the slaves? Republican Party was known for freeing the slaves, and so that was a conversation that was that was prevalent on the radio, and we all know this to be true. The Republican Party, and so he gained great respect for the Republican Party during that time period, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. However, what president did not like?
Andrew Johnson.
And why didn't he like that darn Andrew Johnson?
He was racist.
He was racist. I better not say that word at Savannah City Council meeting because I can get taken out. And don't take me out, Mr. Producer. So it was about racism, right? And in a covenant speech that Andrew Johnson had made, what happened with Frederick Douglass? He was not allowed to speak. And he was not allowed to speak until the very end of that speech. And he made his common questions and everything like that. But what was the renowned thing about Frederick Douglass? Everybody in the world knew him for his great what? Speeches. So his great speeches. And so y'all understand this. This is what I call the document phase of getting understanding, because what he just did was and watch this. I listened to SE, South Carolina Public Radio, because we don't have radio no more. So we were listening to the public radio station where we get all the education and all the knowledge we ever need to be able to be successful. I can't look at WTOC, WJCL, and WSAV in Savannah because you know what? They give us a lot of good stories and a lot more bad stories. And so what we try to look at narratives that are not germane to being subjected to partisanship. And so with that conversation being said, when we talked about the Republican Party tied to Frederick Douglass, we were just repeating what was said on the radio. And we all understand and we all know in the modern day times, in this day and world, they started toward being what? Democrats. And so he already understands that his daddy, we already have that common conversation where we're tied to the Democratic Party. However, there are some challenges going on right now when it comes to the state of Georgia, but that's not the conversation for the day. We're going to move on that conversation on another day around. Ain't that right, Johannes?
Yeah.
Because that's going to be what we call the grown folk conversation. We're going to have that grown folk conversation then. But what we want to make sure we have the conversation on is it is so important for us to make sure that we sit our kids beside us when we're having these courageous conversations, especially when we're talking about the historical points that build and made us live in today. Ain't that right, Johannes?
Yes.
And with that being said, there's some points, some strong points, and that's why we learned through the book that we got for Johannes, the ABCs, as far as when it comes to engineering, doctors, lawyers. Pioneers, as far as who were pioneers. What about Boxman? You ain't going to talk about Box. What's Boxman last name?
Henry Box Brown.
Henry Box Brown. So that was the guy who got shipped in a brown box or something?
Yep.
So he got shipped in a brown box?
Yep.
Okay, what about Lewis? You remember Lewis Lattimore?
Yeah.
What about Charles Drew?
Yes.
Who else do you remember? I mean, tell me what you remember.
I remember
What was significant about Charles Drew?
he he create he made the Bloodmobile, which transferred blood. It's like it carries blood.
Okay, and he was also known mainly for blood transfusion.
Is when you is when you is when you trade bloods. But back then black people couldn't trade their blood for white people.
Okay, and so that's something that was actually true. That's an actual true fact.
It is.
In this world, y'all. And so when people come and say, well, man, James is racist because he always loved to talk about black facts. It's not a point of I'm racist because I like to talk about black facts. I'm just making sure we understand the history of where we came from, because one thing I've learned a long time ago, that people's interior motives or interior makeup just doesn't wash away. We always have to be on guard. We always have to be prepared. Always have to have an understanding of where we came from. And a lot of good came from African Americans in America. A lot of good came from African American. And so what we're going to do in my study with this book that we're reading is we're going to go back to the beginning of that book, and we're going to make sure we start reading for comprehension. We're going to read for concept. You know about reading for concept, don't you?
Yeah, I used to be. I'm reading in concepts at school. We do it every single morning if we don't have GAP.
Okay, so you know GAP is gifted. If you don't know what GAP is, for them people out there,
the Gifted Education Program.
So y'all got that. GAP is Gifted Education Program, and so it's so important for us to make sure that we're having these strong, courageous conversations, and not just during Black History Month. We should be having these strong, courageous conversations, telling the history of African Americans, because a lot of us don't know our generations past 4 generations. A lot of us don't know past great grandmama and great granddaddy, because you know what? We have ties to be enslaved in this region. A lot of us who don't have the dark melanated skin, we have some other color skin folk inside us as far as what's going on, as far as the makeup is concerned. And a lot of us, it should not be a hard conversation. It should be a courageous conversation we're willing to have with our young people and our kids, because a lot of times when we don't know what the makeup is inside of us, then we fall prey to anything that comes to confuse us. And so what we got to do to be able to break the confusion is we have to understand what we are, who we are, and where we come from as a people. Oh, you saw that? You saw that? They trying to get us. They're trying to cut us off. So what we are as a people. And it's so important for us to make sure we have these courageous conversations, because if we're not willing to have them, then we're just going to fall for anything. And so the main thing I've been teaching Johannes Jones right here, and we're going to get back to it probably start next week. We're going to keep the lessons going on with the African Americans. I think we're at K or M. Where we at?
We
had Lattimore.
No, we did Lattimore.
And who we did after Lattimore?
Mary Van Brittan Brown.
And what did Mary Van Brittan Brown do?
She invented the home security system.
Y'all hear that? The home security system. Y'all make sure it is not ADT. I thought it was ADT. It's not ADT?
Who's ADT?
ADT is an alarm home security system. It's not ADT that did the home security system? Who did it?
Mary Van Brittan Brown.
Okay, so y'all heard that, y'all. Mary Van Brittan Brown, right?
Yes.
All right. So we understand now that, you know, the I keep saying Homeland Security. The security system is done by this young lady right here. You know what I'm saying? And we learned some interesting facts, and we learned all kind of other good stuff. But what if we took to do this? Now, I'm going to break something else down. What if, see, now we're going to get into a courageous conversation. And with this courageous conversation, I'm going to say this like this. What if more African American parents could do what me and to do? Where we're allowed to make it where I can be available, she can be available, we can be available to make sure that this young man right here gets the best education as possible. What if we had more Black parents that were allowed the opportunity to do that, if they were given the economics to do that? What kind of world would crime look like? What kind of world would affordable housing look like? What kind of world would the education system look like? What kind of world would all those things, those demonic systems and situations throughout our country and our world would actually look like? Now, Chuck, child on the show, man. I got my child on the show. And I said I'm going to be peaceful. So that's my last conversation on that piece right there. Next week we can have that conversation, sir. And Julius, please don't put that up there because I'm not even going to go there with it. So with that being said, it is so important for us to make sure we have these courageous conversations in our community, especially African American communities, especially black communities. It is so important that we make sure we move our narratives forward. And so with that conversation I just said, it is so important that we remember who was in your gate and who was a guardian angel that actually supported and made those things happen for us as a community. Because when we do those kind of things, it will make it better for us. A lot of times we forget who helped us, who moved the narrative forward, who were those navigators that challenged the storm in our day and age, that we challenge those systems. And a lot of times we forget those people who were there to support you in the corner when we should have had that support. And so what I really want to focus on, narrative wise speaking, is the fact that if fathers were allowed, what if fathers were allowed to be good fathers in the community? What if they didn't have to deal with the challenges and the barriers of the systems of economics has presented before us to create negative conversations in our community? What if we were allowed to make sure we could provide food, water, access, reliability, a statesman, a father figure? What if we were allowed to do those things in our community? Now, I'm not going to get into all the weeds of all the different things that prevent that piece from happening, but I will say this. The one, more than anything else, is the ability to be a father. Because when I have the ability to be a father, a mentor, and when I have to be in a position to protect the one who sits in front of my lap, when I have that ability, because it's so important that for me to make sure that he grows up in not, but in the greatest atmosphere that he can be a provider for not just himself, but for a family. And for me, when I become an old man, where I chastise, call him all kind of names, but he still comes around and makes sure he takes care of me. And that is the most important thing I can possibly offer to anybody else out there in this world. And so with that being said, I don't want this conversation to lack or create a negative narrative about anything else, especially when it comes to another individual, another person. Because one thing I want to be clear, when campaign season come around, it's going to be enough negative conversations where I'm going to make sure Johannes is upstairs in his room where he ain't got to hear my mouth flow. Thing is, that's going to be the time when I'm going to have these discussions about all these other people, especially menfolk who I figured to be respectful for me and to be fathers in this community, to take care of their kids, to be a responsible person, because our kids see everything that put out there in front of them. And my thing is, it's my job to make sure I protect kind of negative conversation to go in this man's ear right here, because this right here is a growing man right here. And what goes in this ear right here goes in his brain right here. And what goes in these eyes right here, what goes in these eyes right here, goes in his brain right here. And what goes in his nose right here, what goes in his nose right here, go here. And what this hand and this hand and these hands do together, go right here in his heart right here, in his soul, in his body. And them feet down here, where they walk and where they go, will put him in harm's way if I don't put the right barriers to be a productive citizen for these United States of America. So I hope I am clear and conscious about what I got to say, because coming March, y'all, and next Friday, the next Friday we do this, will be in March. Coming March, y'all, we are coming for. We're coming for you. because if you're not for us, then you're against us. And it's time out for those people who are not for us not to prosper any further than they have already done so. And with that being said, I'm going to take this show, and it's going to be probably the shortest show that we've for, because you know what? I'm going to spend the rest of these 28 minutes with my child. And because you know why it's so important for me to do that? It's so important for me to do that because my thing is, when we get ready to do these shows and start next week, our shows are going to be topic driven, topic oriented. It's going to have specific guests on the show where we can talk about specific issues from our community. And it is so important. If you want me to talk about it, text me before the show and I'll talk about it. Or I'll tell you why I'm not talking about it. But text me during the show, unless I request it, please don't do that because I'm going to ignore it. And I'm going to tell Mr. Moderator not to share it or show it. Because guess what? This is Jimmy J's show. It's Jimmy J's show. I'm going to say it again. Whose show is it?
Jimmy J.
It's Jimmy J's show. And what goes on Jimmy J's show is what Jimmy J wants to show. Now, if you want Jay Jones, it's a Jay Jones show. He is a nice looking, good, go-lucky kind of fella. If you want that guy, I'll give you that show. But on Friday nights, Jimmy J is going to come to you, and we're going to come to you raw. And this is the last PG show. Got my JoJo on the show. So once again, remember, when you're talking about me, you're talking about him. And I don't need nothing going in these ears. I don't need nothing going in these eyes. I don't need nothing going in this nose. And I don't need nothing affecting these hands or these toes. So tune in. Every 8 o'clock, I want to see you here. You're going to have Jimmy J. You're going to have Jay Jones. I got a list of them. You're going to have a list of them. And you got all kind of characters going to be on this show. But we're going to bring guests. We're going to bring features. And I ask you, I beg you, please do me a favor. Text me your and I'll make sure we address it. Mr. Producer, take us out. Say it, Johannes.
Peace out.
Like this.